who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Jean, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the Sunday, December 7th, 2025 issue of the New York Times Style section on Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. And just like that, he's gone. The designer, Dario Vitale, will be leaving the brand Versace after one hit collection by Vanessa Friedman. That's all he got? 8 months? On Thursday, Prada Group announced that Dario Vitale, the previously unknown designer who had dared to take the reins of Versace after Donatella Versace, was leaving the fashion house after a single collection. The news detonated across the fashion celebrity nexus, leaving behind a trail of shredded denim, chainmail, and confusion. His tenure was one of the shortest of the creative director era, and certainly the only one to be cut short after a debut that was one of the most buzzed about, debated, and potentially influential of the recent runway season. Not only had it knocked the socks off jaded fashion critics like this one, but it resonated with that holy grail of heritage brands, Gen Z. Indeed, less than 3 weeks before the announcement of Mr. Vitale's departure, Olivia Dean, the 26-year-old British singer-songwriter nominated for a Grammy as Best New Artist, had worn 4 looks from his new collection as the musical guest on Saturday Night Live. It's crazy. Nikki Campbell, a fashion commentator who posts under the Instagram account Nikki Bell, is known for his pithy and unvarnished red carpet recaps, said that when he heard Mr. Vitale was leaving, this was the first time I really understood the brand. It felt progressive and desperately needed. Hannah Besovic, who uses the Instagram account I Deserve Couture, posted, "I'm not happy because I wanted to see more." Even Luca Solca, a luxury analyst at Bernstein who represents a very different perspective, was surprised. "It's a pity," he said, adding that Mr. Vitale's first step was good. "I don't understand why this happens." That the news of Mr. Vitale's departure came only 2 days after Prada Group announced the completion of its nearly $1.4 billion acquisition of Versace from Capri Holdings was clearly not a coincidence. Mr. Vitale was hired by Capri management after Ms. Versace had decided to cede her design duties and become Versace's chief brand ambassador. He was not Prada's choice. We would like to sincerely thank Dario for his outstanding contribution to the development of the brand's creative strategy during this transition period, and we wish him all the very best in his future endeavors, the Prada statement said. It had no attribution, though Lorenzo Bertelli, Prada's director of marketing and sustainability, and son of Meucci Prada and Patrizio Bertelli, was now also the executive chairman of Versace. Still, given that before joining Versace, Mr. Vitale had spent 15 years working under Ms. Prada at Muimui, most recently as its design director, and given that during that time he had been critical to transforming it into the explosive success story of the Instagram generation, it seemed a particularly anodyne goodbye. Some had seen his presence at Versace as a potential attraction for Prada. He was a known talent, at least to them, but that was clearly not the case. He left the Prada Group, and then suddenly he was part of the Prada Group again, said Marigay McKee, founder of the venture capital firm Fernbrook Capital and a former president of the Saks Fifth Avenue. That could be an awkward situation. Even before Mr. Vitale's first collection was rolled out, there were rumors that he was not long for the job. First, it was said that Mr. Vitale would not have an official show, and Versace was not listed on the Milan Fashion Week calendar. Then, Mr. Vitale had a surprise show, but neither Mrs. Prada nor Ms. Versace attended. The press team said that they didn't want to steal the limelight from Mr. Vitale, but the conscious distancing was glaring, and it seemed like a backhanded message. Then came the rapturous response to the show and its celebrity supporters. Aside from Miss Dean, they included Addison Rae, who was also nominated for a Grammy as Best New Artist, Lorde, and Amy Lou Wood, the actress from Sex Education and The White Lotus, who appeared in Mr. Vitale's first Versace eyewear campaign. Rumor had it that Mr. Vitale may have bought himself some more time. Even if Mr. Vitale's clothes had not yet made it into stores and their literal impact was impossible to measure, their stylistic impact was another story. The show went very wide on social because people were having such a strong reaction to it, Mr. Campbell said. It was like a seismic shift. You couldn't avoid it. What Mr. Vitale did in his very short time at Versace was offer a new way to see the brand, which under Miss Versace had seemed increasingly frozen in amber, locked into a rinse and repeat cycle of old goddess gown references and Medusa head prints. You can understand it. She had taken over as creative director, a job she unexpectedly assumed after the murder of her brother Gianni, and had dedicated herself to keeping the company and his vision alive. It was a task she managed in the face of great pain and skepticism, with resounding success as the sale price indicated. But the house needed someone else to take it forward. The fact that Ms. Versace accepted a recent Council of Fashion Designers of America award for positive change, with Amber Valletta wearing yet another version of the famous green palm print gown that Jennifer Lopez wore in 2000, illustrates the point. By contrast, Mr. Vitale, 42, took inspiration from Gianni Versace's years in Miami Beach and brought an excessively hedonistic edge to his work, with crotch-hugging pants, studded leathers, a Miami Vice color palette, and beaded skirts that flashed a bit of bottom as they swished by. Though the show shocked some of the old Versace customers, Mr. Vitale seemed a part of a new generation of designers who emerged last season, including Jonathan Anderson at Dior, Matthew Blasey at Chanel, Michael Ryder at Celine, who were less beholden to the past of storied brands they had inherited and more focused on reshaping them for the future. It brought a new set of eyeballs to Versace, said Robert Burke, the founder of a luxury consultancy. Abruptly abandoning Mr. Vitale's vision, he said, means that now even the educated fashion consumer is confused. The optics of dumping a designer so quickly before it is possible to assess his success at retail sends a particularly disheartening and jumbled message to designers and to consumers. There's a reason Mr. Anderson said he had told Dior that he needed at least 5 collections before his ideas would be fully realized. History is littered with stories of wildly successful designers who took a few years to get it right, including Pier Paolo Piccolo and Maria Grazia Chiuri at Valentino. Many designers already feel a lack of job security, said Karen Harvey, a longtime fashion headhunter, referring to the more than 20 designers who were fired and hired over the past year. This will not help. For retailers, she said, this will impact sales as the continuity of vision will likely not be there for future collections, so they will certainly have pause before investing in the brand. According to the Prada announcement, a new creative director will be named in due course. In the meantime, the creative team will be led by Emmanuel Ginsberger, the chief executive. It's such a missed opportunity, Mr. Campbell said. Whether it also becomes one of fashion's cautionary tales is the question. You're yeared, and it's all tied up with a bow. A personalized tally of songs, meals, and more is now an annual ritual, like it or not, by Madison Malone Kircher. As far as holiday traditions go, it may not reach as far back as Yule logs and wassail, but over the past decade, Spotify Wrapped, the streaming platform's annual summation of users' listening habits, has cemented its position as a digital cultural custom. Some users spend all year anticipating the results, thinking of it as their Super Bowl. Others try to game their outcomes to favor a particular artist or album. In 2023, users were baffled by the way Spotify sorted them into geographic regions by musical taste. Were you a Burlington, Vermont, or more of a Berkeley, California? Last year, some users were disappointed by the platform's AI-heavy offering. This year, Wrapped, which was released last week, includes a new feature that shows the top listeners of certain artists how their listening time ranks against other superfans. The end-of-year review space is getting crowded, though. Seemingly everything is getting wrapped up these days. From the books you read to the takeout you ordered, the gimmick of packaging user data into cutesy graphics ripe for sharing has become ubiquitous, thanks largely to Spotify. In recent years, Duolingo has told users how much time they spent learning languages. Food-related platforms like Resy, Seamless, and even McDonald's have detailed dining habits, and Steam, the gaming platform, told users how much time they spent playing video games, how many achievements they unlocked, and other fun numbers. Strava, the fitness app, added together user workouts, and Partyful, the event invitation service, let partygoers know how many events they attended. Spotify, for its part, is not worrying much about competition. Payman Kasai, the service's global brand director, said in an interview. He noted a feature that tells users their so-called listening age based on their musical interests. This year, there is also an animated feature that shows a user's top artist sprinting across the screen, racing for the #1 spot. Charmingly creative or not, as more platforms roll out data-backed retrospectives, users are starting to notice all that information adding up. We have fitness watches and rings that allow us to track our every move. Do we need the metrics for our social lives too? I feel like it's been a 3-year period now where it's like, oh my God, I don't need my dentist emailing me about my year in review, joked Anna Sincera, a copywriter who lives in Portland, Oregon. End of the year roundups no longer hit like they used to, Ms. Sincera, 35, said. As users have become more aware of the marketing mechanics at play, she added, the regurgitation of the data that they store on you has lost its shine. She still looks forward, though, to her annual data from Goodreads, whose year in books has typically told readers how many books they read and tallied how many pages they turned. These features are partly a result of the large volume of personal data people generate every day, said Jeremy Morris, a professor of media and cultural studies at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. We don't have the time to parse through all the things, so now we have systems that are sort of playing on that nostalgia, he added. For some, the barrage of information about themselves can be anxiety-inducing. I feel like the data turns my private habits into a public scoreboard, said Elle Brulado, 32, a freelance content producer who lives in Manhattan. Sometimes she feels boxed in by the algorithms that fuel many of these platforms, she added. While these yearly digital debriefs can serve as a mirror of users' tastes in music, food, and events, some are starting to question whether that taste is truly their own, all too aware of the algorithms that can shape their choices. Caitlin Begg, the founder of Authentic Social, an applied research lab focused on sociology and technology, described a phenomenon she calls the algorithmization of everyday life, explaining that these patterns and repetitive behaviors can be more indicative of convenience than they are of determined choice. Did you, say, listen to that indie band this year because you loved its sound, or because its song automatically started playing after a Taylor Swift album? Speaking from a landline, Ms. Begg, 31, explained that she makes it to a point to seek out analog experience to avoid the prediction algorithm. There are still plenty of people, though, who look forward to their personalized years in review. The information exists, holding the potential for self-knowledge. How could they not check it out? Scott Knobloch, who lives in Pensacola, Florida, said he spent 2025 trying to top his Spotify records from the previous year when he listened to music on the service for 106 minutes. For Mr. Knobloch, 48, who works in water utilities, Spotify Wrapped data sometimes is not granular enough. He uses a third-party platform called Stats.fm to keep track of additional data and create a sort of Wrapped for his annual Wrapped, he said. "You will not find me without an earbud in the ear," he said. "That's me. That's the center of my world." Putting his taste in men's style where the money is. A podcaster both skeptical of fashion and deeply engaged with it starts a clothing line by Max Berlinger. As one half of the podcast How Long Gone, which he hosts with his friend Jason Stewart, a columnist for GQ magazine, Chris Black's judgments and observations have the eyes and ears of a certain slice of the creative class, or, as the podcast itself has put it, the bi-coastal elite. In conversation, Mr. Black quips that while he has no discernible talent, his cohort of talented friends makes up for what he lacks. "I try to surround myself with them," he said last month. Indeed, Mr. Black, who is a creative consultant for brands like Thom Browne and J. Crew, is known for being well-connected and is the kind of guy who can say, "That's for Charlie," meaning the pop star Charli XCX, and mean it. He attended her wedding in Italy this summer. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the New York Times Style section on Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. He also has the courage of his convictions. "I have a point of view," he said with a shrug, "and I'm not afraid to share it." Now, Mr. Black is moving from those amorphous markers of influence, podcasting, consulting, to a more tangible project. Hanover, a line of clothing and accessories, was introduced online last week. Named after a neighborhood in Atlanta where Mr. Black grew up, Hanover is a tightly edited collection of menswear items in a quotidian vein: buttoned-up shirts, straight-leg jeans, crew-neck sweatshirts, and graphic tees. Trends move so fast, and you see so much every day that it's easy to get confused, he said. You want to try things, which when you're young is great, but I'm 43, and I think at that point what works for you is what's going to flatter you and make you feel confident and help you in a professional and personal setting. The result is a classic American sportswear with a weather-worn fade, some graphics sprinkled in. Detail reflected Mr. Black's own laid-back preferences. Shirts, for example, are cut to be worn tucked or untucked as his wont. And as someone who has an aversion to logos, the one he settled on is barely perceptible tonal embroidery. The T-shirts are 100% cotton jersey, buttons and hardware are custom, and the jeans are crafted of denim from the Cone Mills factory in North Carolina. Hanover is also made entirely in the United States, and the intention is for nothing to cost more than $300. T-shirts range from $55 to $85. Oxford button-ups and hooded sweatshirts are priced at $125, and jeans are $155. There are also accessories like baseball caps, $55, tote bags, $34 to $45, and a carabiner, $25, to hang your keys from. I think we can create a very rich brand world without having to charge $1,000 for a pair of jeans, he said. Mr. Black is both skeptical of fashion and deeply engaged with it. He peppers his conversations with insider fluency, thoughts on Le Maire slippers, say, or Jonathan Anderson's pivot to classics in his first Dior menswear show, but seems steadfastly confident in his less high-fashion choices. He has a conviction to him, said Naomi Fry, a staff writer at New Yorker and a host of its podcast, Critics at Large. Mr. Black's podcast, she said, resonates because it exists at a productive meeting point between the elevated and the middle of the road and focuses on aspirational minutia. Ms. Fry has also appeared in a few times on How Long Gone. Matt Jamison, 27, who works in fashion logistics and lives in Brooklyn, is a longtime listener of the podcast. He's disciplined and adheres to his principles, and no matter how corny they are, Mr. Jamison wrote of Mr. Black in an email. Chris is status obsessed as well, but is proud of it and is confident in what he enjoys. People like him are good for culture, he continued, because they're authentically arrogant but are able to laugh at how ridiculous that is. Mr. Black sticks to basics, but has his indulgences, luxury shoes and 500 or so vintage T-shirts, many procured through a dealer. Still, there's an overarching thought line, a consistency to his approach to matters of style, which is why he thinks some people care what his opinion may be. My interests may fluctuate and take turns here and there, but I think there's a level of staying the course, he said. That you can make a trusted voice, you can find the right audience. Mr. Black recalls his mother dressing him in preppy clothes as a child and first falling under fashion's spell as a shoe salesman in Atlanta. The thing retail teaches you most is that people shop for so many different reasons, he said. It's about how to make them feel. It's a lot deeper than the dopamine of spending money. That's something that really stuck with me. I learned what good is and bad is as far as clothes go, he continued, and I developed my own style that way. Later, he connected to fashion through music as a member of its various style-conscious subcultures. Think the punk and hardcore scenes, skateboarding, that shaped his taste over the years. He dropped out of high school, managed a band, battled drug addiction, and is sober today. All things he talks about on the podcast. Mr. Black has dabbled in making clothes, screen printing band t-shirts in his youth, and designing Merc for How Long Gone with the graphic designer Sam Jane. He's far too sensible to compare what he's doing with Hanover to the work of the fashion gods he admires, like Ralph Lauren and Mr. Anderson. I wouldn't say I'm a fashion designer, he said. What this has taught me is that I really like to be part of a team and working towards something. The collection will be sold exclusively online at HanoverUSA.com. Mr. Black expects to refresh the collection quarterly and already has collaborations in the works. Still, he would like to see it someday at concept stores like Très Bien in Malmö, Sweden, or the Broken Arm in Paris. I want that in-person experience where you can control everything from the music to the smell to the packaging, he said. That's a big part of the reason to do this at all. White is in the forecast. The absence of color will be a hit in 2026, according to Pantone. Pantone, the self-styled color expert, has been predicting a color of the year since 1999. Its pick for what everyone will be wearing, wanting, eating, and otherwise consuming in 2026. Cloud Dancer, officially Pantone 11-4201. Either way, it's a pretty fancy name for white, or a symbol of calming influence in a frenetic society, as well as a blank canvas on which we can all start again. Has Pantone gotten it right? Reporters for the Styles desk sat down to debate. Vanessa Friedman and Callie Holterman, Alex Van de Kool. Vanessa Friedman. The announcement heralding Cloud Dancer as next year's color features a woman, all in white, looking dreamily into a cloud-filled sky. Serenity is clearly the vibe, but given the recent political discourse, when I hear white, less salubrious associations also leap to mind, ones that I doubt Pantone took into consideration, but that could be twisted to pretty uncomfortable ends. Callie Holterman. It's certainly a conspicuous choice following a year in which DEI programs have been dismantled and the party in power has been debating how friendly to be with a white nationalist. That may not be what Pantone means by peace, unity, and cohesiveness, but I have to imagine it will come up for some viewers. Alex Van de Kool. In terms of meaning, I wonder if there are some clues in its title, Cloud Dancer. What's going on here? Sounds like a 1980s one-hit wonder track. Jacob Gallagher. Political implications aside, I do understand why a blank slate might be the right pick for this moment. Culture right now is pretty darn stagnant. Everything feels like a rehash of a rehash, or a piece of media getting squeezed until there's no juice left. Stranger Things Season 5 looking at you. We're in this moment where you're waiting the next turn of the dial that moves culture forward, hence blank slate. Friedman. There are so many associations with white. The white dove of peace, the baptismal gown, the wedding dress, the white t-shirt. In some Asian countries, mourning. White is a color replete with meaning, so It's not really all that blank at all. Gallagher. Well, isn't that the other advantage to picking this shade? People can see in it what they want. Looked at another way, it's an ideal pick for this fence-sitting period where no one wants to offend anyone. Holterman. This white, in particular, strikes me as a little flavorless. It's the color of cottage cheese and dental floss, of marshmallows and AirPods. It reminds me of the clothes I put on when I'm in a rush and the foods I eat when I have a stomachache. Vanderkool. From a sensory point of view, I think I'm a fan. There's something exploratory and a bit mysterious about it. Also confident. I see it as a kind of attitude-heavy white, if not exactly welcoming white, and maybe even a bit of James Dean to it. Friedman. This is the first time Pantone has chosen a shade of white in some 26 years they have been picking a color of the year. I don't think it escaped them that it might cause a stir. The closest they came before was Sand Dollar. The color of the year for 2006 was more beige. Gallagher. This is not a very color-heavy moment in fashion. There's no brat green or Barbie pink. With that said, if fashion is going this minimal, I would have preferred black. That feels truer to the visual landscape of right now. Holterman. Personally, I miss Viva Magenta from 2023. An insane choice, but at least it was a choice. Cloud Dancer feels like a product of being too tentative to make a statement in any direction, which is, of course, its own kind of statement. Friedman. White goes with everything. I will say when Pantone picked Mocha Mousse as the color of 2025, I was full of doubt, but they turned out to be absolutely right. Brown has been everywhere this year, so maybe 2026 will be the year of white. Gallagher. Brown did end up being ubiquitous, and it felt like Pantone was onto something. White is just white. Will people even think to credit Pantone's predictive powers if it does take off? Holterman. Which is why even presenting the color white as a representative of a fresh start feels a bit divorced from reality. Vanderkool. White is a loaded color on many levels. Gallagher. White historically has been worn to signal wealth. It showed you have the means to keep your clothes clean. Maybe this just foreshadows a massive year for stain removers. At least it's a bit elitist, but doesn't that itself match the moment? Friedman. So maybe Pantone got the choice right, even if the reasons they named, calm, restorative, or not entirely convincing. Ralph Lauren just revealed its designs for Team USA for next year's Winter Olympics, and they are overwhelmingly white. White flannels and white duffel coats for the opening ceremony, and white cargo pants and white puffers for the closing ceremony. Holterman. It's the white elephant in the room. Chanel turns subway platform into a runway, by Vanessa Friedman. At a train station in Nolata, the label presents a thrilling range of moods and styles. It's not often that you run into ASP Rocky on a New York City subway platform, or the Society Doyenne Dee Dee Blair, for that matter. It's not often that you see Kristen Stewart posing on the stairs running down underground, or Bowen Yang, John Bon Jovi, and Solange pushing their way through the turnstile. But then again, it's not often that Chanel brings a show to New York. The last time was in 2018 when Karl Lagerfeld, then the Grand Lord Poobah of the brand, brought the Métier d'Art show, the line created in conjunction with the specialist Atelier Chanel bought to preserve their know-how, to the museum or the Temple of Dendur in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, offering up another kind of monument in gold and haute Egyptian kitsch. This time, Mathieu Blazy, the current Chanel artistic director, flipped the script. Sure, the procession of guests jamming the entrance to the abandoned train station on Bowery and Kenmare Street, showing off their Chanel everything, their boucle coats and their shoes and earmuffs, their quilted bags and boots and portfolio cases, was as absurd a juxtaposition in its own way as the earlier double C ode to the pharaohs of today. But as a statement of differences between now and then, it doesn't get much more dramatic. Not long after the Temple of Dendur show, Mr. Lagerfeld died. Stewardship of Chanel passed to his longtime deputy, Virginia Villard, who doggedly hewed to his template, steering the brand through the coronavirus pandemic and global expansion with loyalty, if not inspiration. Mr. Blasey was hired a year ago to bring back the sizzle and sense of adventure. Boy, did he. If Mr. Blasey's debut show, held in October in the Grand Palais in Paris, amid a set created to resemble the universe, was an introduction to the world of Chanel as he saw it, this Métier d'Art show brought it all down to earth in an exhilarating mishmash of colors, moods, and mentalities. For every outfit, there was a personality. There were familiar, tweedy Chanel suits woven to represent leopard print for ladies who lunch not on salad but on spreadsheets. There were busker jeans that turned out not to be jeans at all, but faded silk trousers with frayed patches made of glistening beads, and flannels that weren't flannels but trompe l'oeil bouclé. The model, Hannah Gabby Odiel, wore a sequined red sheath under a giant black feathered chubby hair in a giant chignon, and she tapped her heels as she stared impatiently down the tunnel as if late for the opera. Alex Cassani, in double-breasted pinstripes, lounged against a pillar as though waiting to make a deal. Long feathery tops were tied over slouchy trousers and t-shirts. One tweedy suit came with a Superman t-shirt underneath. Another came with a coffee cup hanging off a handbag chain. There were little black dresses with raised waistlines and 60s poofs at the knee, and long black dresses with flapper feel. Indeed, there were more evening dresses than there had been in Mr. Blasey's first collection, just in time for awards season. Odds are the Devore sequin number and a silver-spangled Art Deco style will be coming soon to a red carpet near you. It's something that I did not explore a lot in the first show, Mr. Blasey admitted in an interview after his subway had finally left the station. I'm trying to build up and introduce new codes. To that end, there was not an obvious double C, Camilla, or Pearl in sight, though everything was still obviously Chanel. In 2 shows, Mr. Blasey has liberated the brand from the cliches of its past, the better to move forward. Pointing to the flannel overshirt, for example, Mr. Blasey called it a new classic. Chanel had her famous jacket, he noted. Maybe this could be his. As it happens, the decision to hold his second show in New York was both personal and strategic. Chanel has a long history in the United States, which is its largest market for ready-to-wear, according to Bruno Pavlovsky, the head of fashion. Coco herself came through New York in 1931 during a trip that also took her to Hollywood, and she found inspiration on its streets. So did Mr. Blasey, who lived in the city earlier in his career when he worked at Calvin Klein. That experience, he said, made him love the subway, in part because it has no hierarchy. Every strata of society is still using it, from the student to the musician to the game changer, Mr. Blasey said. I wanted to create the kind of happy chaos that you see every morning when we go to work, and you don't know what's going to be at the corner. It could be, he said, a mother on the run. It could be somebody dressed up as Spider-Man. That's an awfully romantic, some might say out of touch or even tone deaf, way to think about what for many is a painful part of the morning routine and a symbol of New York's decline. But for a few hours on Tuesday, Mr. Blasey actually made the mass transit seem like the most gorgeous way to go. You're listening to a reading of articles and features from the New York Times Style section on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Red carpet season has officially begun. Independent film's main event, the Gotham Awards, brought the stars to Lower Manhattan. By Sarah Barr. On Monday night, inside the cavernous ballroom of the Cipriani Wall Street in Lower Manhattan, the annual stretch when Hollywood's finest actors and filmmakers primp, pose, and pick up their honors officially kicked into gear at the Gotham Awards. Stars including Ethan Hawke, Hugh Jackman, Julia Roberts, and Jeremy Allen White stood on a tented red carpet stretching down the city street outside angling themselves for the camera in tuxedos and sleeveless gowns alongside glowing heat lamps. Mr. Jackman said he was obsessed with the film he had seen the day before, the documentary Come See Me in the Good Light, which chronicles the poet Andrea Gibson's final year of living with cancer. "It's incredible," said Mr. Jackman, who walked the carpet hand in hand with his girlfriend, the actress Sutton Foster. He also had an idea for a documentary, not yet made, that he wanted to see. "I would love Ken Burns to tackle Indigenous Australians," said Mr. Jackman, who was born in Sydney. The awards, which aimed to elevate independent films, attracted about 400 actors, directors, and producers, among them Jennifer Lawrence, Adam Sandler, Kristen Stewart, Paul Rudd, Amanda Seyfried, Oscar Isaac, and Jacob Elordi. Inside the soaring candlelit space, attendees sat down to a dinner of baked taglione with mushrooms, prime roast beef and roasted potatoes, and slices of chocolate cake. The Iranian filmmaker Jafar Pahani's political thriller, It Was Just an Accident, was the night's big winner, taking home 3 of the 10 awards handed out at the 35th annual ceremony: Best International Feature, Best Director, and Best Original Screenplay. Other winners included Paul Thomas Anderson's nearly 3-hour-long epic, One Battle After Another, Best Feature, Wunmi Musaka for her role in the horror film Sinners, Best Supporting Performance, and Sope Dirishu for the Nigerian election drama My Father's Shadow, Best Lead Performance. In addition to the competitive honors, the Gothams paid tribute to the director Noah Baumbach for his film Jay Kelly, Tessa Thompson, the lead of Hedda, an adaptation of the Henry Ibsen's play Hedda Gabler, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, and Kate Hudson and Mr. Jackman for the Neil Diamond tribute band tale Song Sung Blue. As he accepted his award from the stage, Mr. Jackman thought of his Deadpool and Wolverine co-star. "This will make Ryan Reynolds insanely jealous," he said, grinning. Wedding camcorders are making a return. Some couples prefer nostalgic charm over cinematic perfection. By Emily Lang. At Isabella Negri's August wedding, 2 camcorders captured the day. One in the trusted hands of a bridesmaid who filmed behind-the-scenes moments in the bridal suite at the bride's best friend's mom's house, and another perched on a mantel at a house nearby, recording the chaos as the groomsmen were getting ready. "One of my husband's friends has crazy hair, and you can see him trying to pat it down," said Ms. Negri, 29, an esthetician of the raw camcorder footage, and he's like, "Damn it," under his breath. The grainy footage wasn't a mistake. It was the point. It caught exactly what the couple who live in Brooklyn hoped to document from their wedding at the groom's parents' house in western Sonoma County, California. "A lot of things are so curated with weddings these days," said Ms. Negri. "What you want to actually see is how the guests are feeling in the moment." Most professional wedding videographers aim for cinematic perfection, high definition, close-ups, sweeping drone shots, and vows and speeches in crystal clear audio. But a growing number of young couples want something different. The nostalgic charm of a handheld camcorder, complete with grainy footage, awkward zooms, and candid moments that traditional wedding videographers may not be able to offer. The slow-motion shots of the ring, and then the slow-motion shots of the guy tying his tie. There's not much humanness to it, said Leverett Tobias Forehand, 24, a freelance video and photo editor who opted for a camcorder to film his October wedding in Cave Springs, Arkansas. Once the hallmark of 90s family gatherings, the handheld camcorder, affectionately referred to by many as the dad cam, has become a source of nostalgia for a generation of people who grew up watching their parents record the soccer games, recitals, and holiday moments. Dozens of recent camcorder wedding video snippets online emulate the casual, silly, and tender tone of the old home videos, a guest putting a camcorder close to his face and asking when the couple was going to have kids, a grandma blowing a kiss, bridesmaids singing along to a 2000s Justin Bieber song. Mr. Foran's wife, Chloe Waddell, 23, a child development specialist in Nashville, where the couple live, said she had drawn inspiration from old home videos her father had filmed on a camcorder. At their wedding, they used multiple camcorders. That was just so special to me, Ms. Waddell said of the throwback videos. So getting a camcorder video felt like something we would actually show our kids. Kyle Snyder, 24, spent the first night of her honeymoon sifting through 3 hours of footage from the two $50 camcorders she bought on Amazon for her wedding in Denison, Texas. The cost and the fun she had following up with family and friends about overheard moments were worth staying up for. Her older sister forgot to turn one of the devices off, so the night's longest clip turned out to be a conversation between her and her mother debating the cocktail hour playlist. Stuff gets very expensive, so I just tried to find a way to do it in a reasonable way, and it's very cool to have it in your hands, Miss Snyder said. For couples who are willing to pay more, some small companies have been popping up online and advertising on social media to meet demand, offering camcorder rentals and video editing services. After seeing a TikTok ad, Ms. Waddell hired Wedding Weekender, a company in Denver. In the past 6 months, its founder, Anne Marie Carroll, 29, has booked more than 600 couples. For $649, clients can rent a Sony ultra-high-definition 4K camcorder for their wedding photography, receiving all the raw footage and getting a 5-minute edited wedding video. I actually had to quit work and take this over full-time because just the crazy demand for it from couples, Ms. Carroll said, who used to work in advertising and started the company as a side hustle last May. While the trend speaks to Gen Z's penchant for nostalgic tech, choosing a camcorder over paying for a videographer reflects how some younger couples are spending less on weddings. According to a study from the Not Wedding site, the average cost for a wedding videographer is about $2,300. Some video professionals have noticed the shift too. Molly Lumsden, 27, a wedding videographer and content creator, is also a founder of Handheld Studio, a Los Angeles company similar to Wedding Weekender. Couples can rent camcorders for their wedding day, have the footage edited into a short video, and receive all the footage. I just kind of noticed this trend among older Gen Zers and young millennials really gravitating toward that authentic, behind-the-scenes content and wanting to relive it all very quickly, said Ms. Lumsden, who charges $649 rental fee, which includes editing for a 2010 Sony Handycam. Ms. Lumsden usually shoots weddings using both an iPhone and a camcorder. Even before starting her company last April, she began bringing an extra camcorder to weddings to give the groomsmen after noticing some would clam up when she would try to film them getting ready. I'm like, okay, well, I know these guys have a personality, but they're not really going to show that to me, Ms. Lumsden said. Other wedding videographers and content creators have been shifting their approaches to meet the demand for more authentic moments by offering a documentary-style approach to wedding videos, with guests sharing anecdotes about the couple. But for some recent newlyweds, the best wedding video may be before they were born. Kennedy Shaw, 25, a school psychologist from Parker, PA, spent months before her wedding in Bannister, Michigan, watching her parents' 1992 camcorder video, recorded by a family friend her father had paid $100, more times than I could count. For her own wedding video, she chose to hire a professional, but she still aimed for that same fly-on-the-wall feel. Kind of similar to my parents' video, she said. Critic's Notebook, Jacob Gallagher, The Art of Provocation. A fashion influencer debuted a bodysuit that made him appear naked. The Supreme Court Justice, Potter Stewart, once said of obscenity, "I just know it when I see it." The justice would certainly be able to see this one. At the Fashion Awards in London last month, Elias Medini, the fashion influencer known as Lias, walked onto the red carpet wearing a Jean Paul Gaultier bodysuit printed from neck to ankle with the disconcertingly realistic image of a naked man. At a quick glance, it appeared that Mr. Medini had himself gone full frontal and that he had groomed his chest hair into a shaggy T-shape and was ready for an especially nippy night out. But no, it was just a stretchy facsimile, a hirsute suit plastered with the image of a well-endowed man that, in any other capacity, would have arrived with an age restriction. We cannot print the outfit in full here for obvious reasons. Mr. Medini's nothing to the imagination outfit garnered groans and guffaws online. On Instagram, where many accounts have blurred out the R-rated bits, comments ranged from aghast to grossed out. Several keyboard critics claimed it was closer to costume than fashion, that the outfit bunched and wrinkled like a store-bought latex suit added only to the Spirit Halloween vibes. It's fascinating how prudish we've become about the naked body, Mr. Medini wrote over to email. He was en route to New York for a Chanel fashion show, but had been tracking, with glee, the comments online. I love that it provokes visceral reactions, whether people get it or not, he wrote. It starts a conversation. If you hate it, why? Does it push you out of your comfort zone? Maybe that's the point. Still, the likes poured in, thousands of them by Tuesday morning. What's more, Mr. Medini's outfit reached terminal velocity, breaking the airspace of the fashion internet to be posted by mainstream pop culture publications. On the celebrity blog, Just Jared, you can read about Mr. Medini's suit squeezed between Avatar, early reactions, and a recap of Alexander Skarsgård's appearance on The Graham Norton Show. None of this, the astonishment, the attention, the base provocation of it all, should surprise anyone who has paid attention to celebrity style in the past decade. The red carpet has become a gladiator arena where stars chuck out lame and silk hijinks to become the most discussed outfit of the evening. To be memed is better than to be praised. Consider how many outfits in the past few years have been tailored to scoop up headlines. Kylie Jenner's fabricated lion's head, Zendaya in her metallic Mugler robot suit, and Lil Nas X wearing a headpiece the size of a flying saucer. Were those good outfits? That's the wrong question. But so often, the quest for attention has manifested in nudity. We continue to bask, some would say wallow, in the naked dressing trend, propelling celebrities like Bella Hadid, Florence Pugh, Ciara, and Kim Kardashian to take to the red carpet in dresses that barely obscure their breasts behind the most gossamer of fabrics. At this year's Grammy Awards, Ye's wife, Bianca Censori, took this trend to its limit, wearing a see-through slip that exposed her chest and genitalia. So pervasive has this trend become that the Cannes Film Festival instituted a dress code prohibiting nudity on the red carpet. But Mr. Medini's outfit illuminates the inequity of skin on the red carpet. Yes, Mr. Medini is brandishing a naked body, but critically, it's not his body. It's a borrowed body, a provocation that doesn't actually put one's own anatomical honesty out there. Duran Latnik, a Dutch designer who is now creative director of Jean Paul Gaultier, appears preoccupied with the tacked-on body manipulation. The last collection of his own label opened with a female model in a male torso appendage and closed with a male model wearing a rubbery set of women's breasts. Naked dressing may be a trend, but it's a trend that is almost entirely perpetuated by women, not men. Consider that when Ms. Censori wore her all-out-there dress at the Grammy Awards. Ye was beside her, covered up in a modest black t-shirt and black jeans. While a male star may show some skin occasionally, Mr. Skarsgård in a backless Ludovic St. Cyrin shirt or Brad Pitt in a flouncy skirt, They largely flash safe amounts of skin. The male erogenous zones, those that simmer with R-rated provocation, remain off limits, or at least served up in latex form only. Yet the lesson of Mr. Medini's outfit may be that nudity, even artificial nudity, still works. Here's a figure whom you most likely didn't even know about until today, and now he has a U.S. Weekly writing about him. That his outfit has been covered by mainstream cultural properties, that I'm even writing this very piece, shows that in the attention economy, there are no gold stars for good taste. Social Cues by Philip Galanis. Blissful, not blotto. My fiancé and I do not drink alcohol. Neither of us is in recovery. We're fine with social drinkers, but we do not enjoy being around drunk people. We've considered various options for alcohol at our wedding. A cash bar is not possible at our venue, so we decided to have an open bar of beer and wine. Some of our guests are not aware of our feelings about drinking, others are not. It is appropriate to address the subject on our wedding website, or maybe a note in the frequently asked questions section about a limited bar and our desire for guests to drink in moderation. Would that be micromanaging? We want everyone to have fun, but it would be a bummer for us if people overindulged at the reception. Bride. It's important that you and your fiancé have the wedding you want, but I doubt that a post on your wedding website will make a big difference. It can't hurt, I suppose, but I rarely study wedding sites aside from checking on locations, time, and dress code, and I worry that you risk sounding like scolds by asking your guests in advance not to drink too much, as if that were their plan. I have a different suggestion. Rather than focusing on what you want, consider your guest's experience. I'm often invited to weddings, for instance, where I am not remotely close enough to the bridal couple to spend 5 or 6 hours celebrating their big day. And still, I sometimes RSVP, yes, out of guilt or discomfort. That can lead to bored drinking. I have also been to cocktail receptions at weddings that drag on for hours to accommodate the bridal's party photo shoots. More drinking. Now, I'm not accusing you of these things, and statistically, it's probably inevitable that a few of your guests will overindulge. But perhaps by reviewing your guest list and the schedule for the reception now, you may increase the chances of creating an event that moves along and that brings together people who are excited to celebrate you and your husband-to-be in the way you want. Yet again, it's no bother. My mother-in-law comes to visit a couple times a year. She is lovely, and we are always glad to have her. The challenge: she is so intent on not being a bother to us that everything is a subject for debate. I can get her coffee, for instance, only if I'm making some for myself. She tries to talk me out of cooking for her because it's too much work. And she even offered to stay behind on outings we've arranged especially for her because she doesn't want to intrude on her family time. It drives me bonkers. I want her to feel at home here. What should I do? If you read my mail for a week, you would probably feel less bonkers and more grateful. I'm inundated with letters from people who feel beleaguered by entitled and demanding in-laws. So while I get the annoying aspect of your situation, a mother-in-law who tries too hard to be considerate seems benign by comparison. Now, I don't know if your mother-in-law dislikes making waves in general or with you in particular. Why not sit down with her and your husband and together tell her how much you love her visits and that she should never feel as if she's imposing because she's a valued member of your family. It will probably make her feel terrific, even if she's still too shy to ask for coffee. Taking pre-loved too far. In the past year, my husband and I have taken big steps to become more eco-conscious shoppers. Many of our clothes, household items, and children's toys are secondhand. We save money and live more sustainably by reducing our reliance on newly produced goods. But when it comes to gifts for our children's friends, it doesn't feel socially appropriate to give used toys or clothing, as much as I dislike buying new things. What do you think? I admire your family's choices, but as you suggest, I think you're a few steps ahead of the broader culture. Many parents would think it very weird if you gave their children used toys or clothing as gifts. It may be better to start with conversations with your friends on the subject and see what kind of responses you get. And in the meantime, give gifts like prepaid tickets to movie theaters or museums that center experiences and are also sustainable. Not so wet behind the ears. I appear 5 years younger than I am. 10 years younger on a good day. I'm not complaining. Still, colleagues and subordinates often suggest that I am less experienced than they are in terms of years on the job. Is there a professional and lighthearted way to correct their misconception? Impressive humble brag. I can't imagine that a factual reply would be problematic. Actually, I've been on the job for 10 years, and in the interest of modesty, I would avoid any reference to your astonishing youthful appearance. Where wonderful shopping isn't just about the clothes. Walking into a great clothing store is like taking a vacation. A spell is cast. You are transported to a different world, if for only 10 minutes. A great store will make you think about who you are and may change that perspective in real time. Much like the visitor to Paris feels they could wear a beret, the customer browsing at great stores suddenly envisions themselves in pony hair, knee-high boots, or an Italian power suit. This list comprises stores that are distinctive and inspirational. Most are independent small businesses. Stores whose proprietors deserve praise and exposure. Stores intently focused on the customer experience. Stores that are surprising and satisfying above all else. Keep alive the thrill of in-person shopping in this age of e-commerce, by Stephen Kuritz. In Arizona, Sidewalk Surfer, a skate shop for all skaters. There may be buzzier skate shops, but few if any are as dedicated to the pastime than Sidewalk Surfer. For 48 years, this has outfitted both rookies and pros with a selection that has largely resisted the influence of flash-in-the-pan trends. Instead, its owner, Sandy Hamilton, has filled the basketball court-sized store with standby brands like Vans and Etnies, along with everything needed to get rolling, from hundreds of sneakers, t-shirts, board shorts, and safety gear, to boards, wheels, tapes, and more. Luke's Los Angeles. Ever feel anxious about not acquiring a men's wear grail from Balenciaga, Chrome Hearts, or Rick Owens? Just wait. It'll probably arrive in the daily dump at Luke's soon enough. An early mover in men's luxury resale, its owner, Luke Frasher, has an expansive imagination about what constitutes style. It could be recent season Bottega Veneta, OG Maison Margiela, early Hood by Air, and Supreme, Prada, American Cup footwear, or Louis Vuitton employee uniforms, all of which have been offered, often at a steep discount. The flagship is in New York City, but the Los Angeles location is bigger with slightly more variety. Plain Goods, Connecticut. A stark 19th century town hall on the National Register of Historic Places is an apt setting for the array of understated, yet expensive, clothes curated by Plain Goods owners Michael DePerno and Andrew Fry. Anderson polos, Brady canvas bags, or slow jeans, Fujito chambray shirts, and an extensive selection of Margaret Howe clothing are among the items displayed on wooden tables or inside weathered cabinets at its flagship. A second location recently opened in Maine. Mixed in are jewelry, beauty products, home goods, and vintage pieces, along with a house line of products including cotton shirts and patent leather flats. This is only 3 of the stores on this list. There's an entry for every state, and if you would like to read more, please let us know. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the Sunday, December 7th, 2025 issue of New York Times Style section. Your reader has been Jean, and I thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the USA Today. Following that, at 2 o'clock, is episode number 8 of Boat Baby by Vicki Nguyen. Stay with us for these readings and more. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, broadcasting daily readings 24 hours a day of newspapers, magazines, and books to area people who are blind or have a print disability, who are provided reading radios. Radio Reading's broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Radio Reading Studios are at 1199 Harlem Road in Cheektowaga, between William and Clinton Streets. Radio Reading's website is nfradioreading.org. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call us at 716-821-5555.
The Niagara Frontier